What's going on? I am John Rettinger.
And I'm Matt Gonzalez.
And behind us, we don't have just any ordinary Techno Buffalo video. We got one that goes super fast.
So this is the 2018 Audi TT RS. Like John said, goes super fast. It's taken up to the maximum. And I'm gonna be talking about the performance here. I have an Audi and I drive it every day, so I kind of, get what they're about, but I'll talk about the performance.
I'm gonna talk about all the technology, and this thing is a tech powerhouse on wheels. So I'll walk you through all the performance, all the technology, and hopefully maybe by the end, you wanna shell out for a TT RS for yourself. Audi's got some of the best tech in the car industry, so for me the TTRS is just a way to get into that technology. But obviously it looks like a pretty sweet car. Matt's got opinions on the looks. I'm saying it looks rakish and sportish, but Matt?
So, I like the TT. For the longest time, I wasn't the biggest fan of just the way it looked, the styling. But I think with this latest 2018 model, they've kind of hit it out of the park. I think the front end is one of the most mean that you can find, especially in its segment. But I think this is a great update, and especially in this RS variant, when you have the new bumpers and the exhaust in the back, I think it looks great. But one of my favorite parts for sure is the interior. So let's go check that out.
So as soon as you sit in any sort of modern Audi, the TTRS included, you've got virtual cockpit, and it should be pretty obvious why it's called virtual cockpit. It is a bit strange to not have a secondary screen, which I'll talk about.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. Although I will note that, other models of Audis like the A4, the Q7, they do have that center screen. So this is more unique to this car in particular.
But you can do a lot with virtual cockpit, and the way you navigate, you've got knobs and dials galore. So first thing I'm looking at right now, I've got Google Earth just front and center. Because the screen though, you can control what you see there. So a lot of ways to work it. Hit a view button, you can control whether or not you've got the gauges on the side, you've got power and torque. And it's got a lot of tech built in. You've got things like Apple CarPlay support. There's no touchscreen here, so again, it's all with the knobs. And the more you use it, the more intuitive I think it becomes to use. Some of the cool things I think about the customization they've done with the TTRS is you get a lot of racing options as you go through, a lot of granular things about the car. You get like a G meter and such on here. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, you want to take your TTRS to the track, which you definitely
probably would if you have this car.
Definitely should do. You're going to get a lot of tech crammed in here. A couple other awesome things that you've got. It's got its own LT connection. You've got something called Audi Connect. It's going to let you show you things like the news. It's going to show you weather. You're going to see even parking spaces that are available nearby. Even's got Twitter integration built in. It is a fully connected car, which makes the technology really awesome that's here. Now, I don't think you should be tweeting or anything while you're driving or even reading a Twitter feed. But if you're parked and your phone's not handy, it's nice to have that option. It's also kind of cool to see the weather. It's going to give you other connectivity like flight information. It's really just a step to show that this is a very connected car. So while there's a lot of technology in the virtual cockpit, it is missing some stuff I would have liked to have seen. I would have liked to have seen cross traffic alerts. I would have liked to have seen adaptive cruise control. This obviously is a car meant for speed, but it's a car, so you're going to be stuck in traffic at some point.
Yeah, although I will say, like you mentioned, this is a performance-oriented car, and if you do want those features, you can get them in other cars that Audi makes.
It, of course, has a backup camera, but one of the things I think where you're missing having that secondary screen up here is when you pop the thing in reverse, your camera's going to show up in the virtual cockpit, but if you're turning the wheel, you got to kind of look through.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing you definitely have to get used to, and that's probably my biggest gripe of not having that center screen. Not having it is interesting.
And perhaps my favorite thing, they pretty much just took the steering wheel from the R8.
Pretty much.
The flat bottom steering wheel with the big red engine start-stop button on it is absolutely incredible. And there's a lot of attention to detail in the car. Obviously you've got carbon fiber everywhere, but the way you control the air conditioning and the speed of the air, there's little screens that are inside of the vents. It's a small touch, makes you really appreciate, I think, all the technology and craftsmanship that's gone into the car. If you're familiar with a lot of Audis now, MMI, like I said, it's a jog wheel and buttons, but it's also a trackpad inside of that jog wheel. So if you're in navigation, for example, you can start to just write out the letters or the numbers of where you want to go. If you don't want to do that, of course, you can just use voice, but it's pretty cool to be able to use that as a trackpad, that having to sort of look and put your eyes elsewhere.
So with a car like this, you just have to drive it. We've got a 2.5 liter 5-cylinder engine under the hood. It's producing 400 horsepower, 354 pound-feet of torque. So I mean, this is a monster. Now the engine is connected to a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, no manual option here. Although if you are going to have an automatic, a dual clutch is the one to have, and this one is great. When you're driving around normally, smooth, you really don't feel the shifts, but once you start going a little bit fast, it's very snappy, shifts are very quick, downshifts sound great. And all of that power is then sent to all 4 wheels, Quattro. Now this is a Haldex system. It's not your traditional Quattro that you might be used to. So what that means is it's front wheel bias. So you're gonna get most of the power to the front wheels, and when it needs to, it'll send it to the back. Now I've driven Haldex system cars before, and I don't really like them that much because they feel front wheel drive, even though they are all wheel drive. But I think this one's a little bit different. It's tuned a little bit differently. It takes more inputs to send power to the rear wheels. And when going around corners, I feel with this one, you're getting pushed a little bit more than you're getting pulled.
All right, so there's almost no body roll in this car at all.
Yeah, so we have the upgraded steel springs. Those are the more performance oriented, but you do get magnetic ride if you don't opt for these steel springs. And what that means is you'll be able to change the kind of comfort level. So if you're, getting groceries or whatever, you can make it nice and soft, but when you want to go to the track, you can make it stiff. We don't have that option. We feel every single bump, but you feel very confident that this car is gonna pretty much be able to do anything you throw at it.
So the car's kind of got a bit of like a split personality. If you just want to drive it to the grocery store and you don't want to, get to the grocery store in like 4 seconds, you can still drive it like a normal car. And the noise engine note's gonna sound awesome, but it can still drive like a normal car. It's really smooth. But if you want to have that performance, the transmission gives you an awesome way to sort of obviously put it into sport mode, but also you can shift it over and you can do the shifting yourself, either via the paddles, or the gear selector. I love having that flexibility.
So even though you don't have a traditional manual option, you can at least do it yourself. And with the drive select options, that's kind of how you tame down the car. So you can put it into your comfort mode. It's nice and quiet, civilized. Put it into dynamic and sport mode, and you're off to the races. Also, when you're coming to a stop, we have the optional carbon ceramic brakes. So first of all, you're going to stop. And second of all, when you're stopping a lot, they're not gonna fade, which is great to have.
Yeah, big brakes and badass looking calipers.
Yeah. So as an overall experience driving this car, I've really enjoyed it. I've taken it in the back roads a little bit, and even though it was raining, unfortunately, I couldn't push it quite to its limit, but it's fun, and it goes around the corners really well. It has all the power that you need pretty much, especially if you're just driving on the road. If you don't plan to take this to the track, this is all the power you can ever want or really use on the road.
Yeah, it's also a tech powerhouse too. And the technology that's inside of this car is amazing. From obviously the LTE connection gives it connectivity, but what you get with that LTE connectivity, you're getting Google Maps, you're getting Google Earth, you're getting the ability to see the news and the weather, get information about your car. It opens up a whole other realm of possibilities you can do when you've got that connectivity, and then more to something like the beautiful screen that you've got with Virtual Cockpit. It's pretty sweet.
It's really the whole package.
With the TTRS, you're getting like most of the way to like full Fast and Furious, and it kind of depends how you evaluate the car. If you look at it as $75,000 for a car, then yeah, it's definitely on the expensive side. If you look at it for performance for $75,000, the TTRS is competing against cars that are more than double its price, and you're getting an incredible value there. So it'll come down to what you want in your car. If you want crazy fast with launch control and really cutting edge tech, TTRS is a pretty awesome choice. A lot of the tech review Techno Buffalo we buy ourselves, but we don't have the scratch to drop on a TTRS. So thank you to Audi for sending us the car and for sponsoring this video.
Yeah, and be sure to let us know what you think of the car. And if you enjoy videos like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you can see when they come out.
Thanks, guys.